Jay here for Stretford, Paddock. This is it. This is the big one. Manchester United versus Brentford. Joe Smith's here. This is the preview brought to you by BetMate, the fantasy football app. We'll be getting into that a little bit later on. Joe, tension, drama, fear, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Top four, it's not nailed on anymore, is it?
No, it's in the balance. It's a guessing game.
Yes.
Etc. Just add a cliche upon cliche if you'd like to. It's a game of two halves.
It is.
Yeah. This melon is bruised on one side. That's a new saying I'm trying to sort of introduce to the lexicon of the country, but it's not really working so far. But one thing can be for sure: this melon is bruised on one side, Jay, and that will be proved on Wednesday.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got to a point now where we had these games where there was a bit of a kind of a cushion, as they say. We had a cushion.
A buffer.
And we're really using that cushion now, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's the only thing that stops us from cracking our head open at the minute, this cushion.
Yeah.
And this is why having 7 points clear, 8 points clear, whatever it was so important. Because as we all knew, as the games kept coming, as the injuries took our players away, as suspensions, this, that and the other, if you're playing 61 games minimum a season, you're not going to absolutely piss top four because we're not that good yet. So this is why it was so crucial that we built up those points when we did. Hopefully, we can have a big result against Brentford because, top four all of a sudden is a battle rather than a certainty. But again, that's why it's good that we had those points because now, hopefully, we'll still be able to make it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with what you're saying now. One sort of, big comfort for us is the fact that whilst our away form has been woeful, we'll get into that a little bit later on, at Old Trafford, it's been much, much better. Eric Ten Hag a few months ago said he wanted to turn Old Trafford into a fortress, and he's pretty much done that. Yeah. Since we lost that first game against Brighton, I don't think we've lost in the league there since, and we've won the vast majority of games at Old Trafford against some good teams as well. When you think we beat Arsenal, we beat Liverpool, we beat Manchester City, so Barcelona, of course. These are big games against good teams, and we've turned up for it. So how much does that give you a bit of a sort of warm, fuzzy feeling inside?
Yeah, it's massive because, firstly, we've only lost 2 games at home all season in all competitions. So we've won 9, drawn 3, lost 1 in the league. But there's only one more loss, and that was the Sociedad game at the start of the Europa League season. But every other game since then, we haven't lost, which is great. But I think this is good. And you can look at our away form and this sort of top 9 thing that we saw after the game against Newcastle, where we basically lose to all the good teams away from home. And we had that thing under Solskjaer where we had this unbeaten away record. But no team that I've ever known has won the league off the back of a great away record and a shocking home record. You win titles by having a very good home record. Liverpool were the same, City were the same, Jose, wherever he was at for the first 10 years of his career, didn't lose a game at home and won leagues, sort of countless leagues in that time. You never go, you're not winning the league this season, their 24-game unbeaten away run. Because we did that under Solskjaer and we finished a distant second.
Yeah.
And I think that having that to improve on is one thing. You sort of shore up away from home. You play slightly differently. But having a home ground where no matter who comes there, you think you will win, and with good reason, that is so much more important and such a better foundation to build on. So I'm really happy that obviously we need to work on the away form, but having home form that works is so much more crucial than having a good away record. And, under Solskjaer, it felt like we lost every week at home. I'm really happy that it's this way round now and we can start improving that away record when we need to. But hopefully you can go into games thinking, well, we're not going to lose this, so, how do we win it? And that's a really good basis, I think.
No, I agree, and it's good to see that record has continued this season. I think, the fans have to take some credit as well because, you've both been at the ground. I think the atmosphere is much improved. Helps, of course, when you've got sort of players in football you can get behind and a manager you believe in, and I think that is the case with Eric Ten Hag when that wasn't necessarily the case towards the end of Ollie and certainly not under Ralph Rangnick. So people are buying into what Eric Ten Hag's trying to do, and you can see those results, at least at Old Trafford as well. With all this being said, we've got sort of a situation where we're missing key players, we're feeling it, especially away from home. He's shuffled the pack a little bit. He's tried different variations in midfield without Casemiro. Give us your predicted 11. What you think the team is going to be for the visit of Brentford?
Yeah, so it's a tricky one because we don't really have the players I want.
Yep.
We don't have Casemiro. I don't know if we'll have Eriksen, and if we do, I don't think he'll be fit to start.
No.
Our forwards aren't firing or are still slightly unfit. But there's the team I've gone with. That back 5 unchanged. And that's only because I don't know if Wan-Bissaka will be fit. If he is, I think I would bring him in for Dalot. Then the midfield 3 there, I've gone heavy. I've gone deep and sort of destructive in midfield. Yeah, and it's sort of a 4-3-2 or 4-2-1-3 there, but I think it's more of a sort of flat 3. Sabitzer, McTominay and Fred, pack it out in midfield. Because we don't have Casemiro, we don't have his tackling, we don't have his ball playing ability, we don't have Eriksen's ball playing ability. So I'm kind of trying to make up the numbers in there by just having loads of industrious players who aren't that good on the ball. And then I've put Fernandes on the right hand side because again, the other problem we need to fix is our striking position isn't particularly good. So I've brought Martial back in and I've got Rashford on the left hand side as well. I thought Rashford was really poor against Newcastle, but he scored 27 goals this season, so he's got to play. I think that's the best way to control the midfield, to play against a team that's going to press well, but still have a good threat on the counter attack, a good threat when we've got the ball. Because who you're taking out? You can't play McTominay and Sabitzer by themselves again because it was awful. So if you take one of them out, Fred's coming in, but then you lose the physicality of the other one. Like I just think get all 3 of them in there, put Fernandes on the right, Martial up front, Rashford on the left. To me, that's probably the best way to do it. But what do you reckon?
The big call there, if Erik ten Hag does go the way you think he's going to go, is obviously dropping Antony for me. Yeah. Because that's a player that he spent €100 million on. This is a big game, obviously, and I thought he did all right against Newcastle, where his teammates were woeful. Yeah. I don't think he was woeful.
To me, if I was the manager, I would say to Antony, "I'm not dropping you. This is more a criticism of McTominay and Sabitzer than it is of you. I have to add another man in midfield. Bruno's playing because he's my captain. Unfortunately." You're taking the hit here, but this isn't a criticism of you. Okay. I thought you were good against Newcastle. However, this is McTominay and Sabitzer not being able to do the job between them. I have to put another player in there, and Bruno's my captain. That's how I'd frame it. It's not even a dig at Antony. It's a dig at McTominay and Sabitzer for not being able to do with Newcastle.
It makes sense. Good to see as well. I see you've got Martial in there. You go to my team. My team's very similar to yours. Same
midfield.
I have, and I'll tell you why. Because you look at it, you go that midfield against Newcastle. It was a little bit all over the gaff. Yeah. But I don't necessarily think that should be, that's it. That's the end of that midfield forever. I think at Old Trafford were better. I think bringing in Fred for Sabitzer or however you want to do it, I don't think that necessarily makes a massive improvement to it. And I think if you are going to try a midfield, try it for more than just one game. And I think collectively against Newcastle we were woeful. I still think Sabitzer's a good player. I think McTominay, you can have a debate on him all day long, and I think Fernandes is always going to start. Once the likes of Casemiro and Eriksen come back, they're obviously going to be playing. But I'm just a bit reluctant to for me, hamper that front 3. I think now we've finally got Martial back. For a start. I expect him to start, and if you look at his record, I think it's 3 goals in 10 appearances, only 6 of them are starters. So on paper that looks great, but he's basically missed 3/4 of the season. Antony, he's got 3 goals as well in the Premier League, which isn't fantastic considering they were in his first 3 games. But he's looking a little bit more lively, and I just want to keep him in the team, and I want him and Martial to play together, and you ain't dropping Marcus Rashford. So it's a little bit of that is the reason why I think he might stick with that midfield, because we were speaking about after the game against Newcastle and I was saying that if you want to play Marcus, you have to juggle things around down the middle, to drop Weghorst. Maybe you do put Fernandes like on the right or on the left or whatever, but I just feel for this one, he might give that midfield another go. And also, I think that front 3 will cause Brentford all sorts of problems. But I wouldn't be losing any sleep if he did decide to change it, because you could basically make any change after that Newcastle game and you could go okay, because everyone was pretty much awful.
Fair enough.
Let's talk about Brentford, because Brentford are one of those teams where you go, it's only Brentford, then you go, hang on a minute, they're actually decent. They beat us 4-0, as we all remember, earlier on in the season. They've had a decent run. It's not been perfect. They lost at Everton, but they beat Southampton, drew Leicester, drew Brighton.
They went a couple of months unbeaten as well, didn't they? They've had some really good runs. So.
They did. Obviously, in Ivan Toney, they've got a player who is banging in the goals. I think it's 17 goals in 26 appearances, all of which have been starts. Got himself into the England squad as well. He's, put his gambling issues or whatever it was to one side, and that doesn't seem to be a thing anymore. No. He's just carried on playing and doing really well. And the job that Thomas Franks is doing, you can respect, can't you? Because they're playing good football. He's on a bit of a shoestring, but they're a force to be reckoned with, and that's why they're in the top half of the table.
Yeah, he's doing an amazing job, an absolutely unbelievable job actually. When you think Brentford, they're not a threat to anyone's sort of top 40 list of biggest teams in the country. Like, they're literally an absolute outsider to that, and the fact that they've come up, done well one season, done even better the next season, Like it's been amazing actually, and obviously Tony. If you've got a striker that can score you're probably expecting 20 Premier League goals from him this season, 17 already. That's going to stand you in great stead, and it shows you, excuse me, no offence, what United are missing. And I wouldn't even pick Ivan Toney as the player to bring in.
No,
but if we had,
Macca likes him, doesn't he? I quite like Toney, but I think we need a.
But imagine you put another 17-goal striker in the United's team. Like what that does to where we are this season. We're probably pushing City and Arsenal.
Title race.
Yeah,
it is. Like let's not be silly about it.
Yeah,
you're throwing in an extra 17 goals.
Yeah,
then that's going to make a world of difference.
And we're looking at Martial going, oh, his goals per minute isn't bad. He scored 3 goals. That's when the league at the end of the season, the league table isn't sort of like twisted and changed based on goals per minute. It's based on how many goals did you score, how many goals did you concede, how did that turn into win, losses and draws. There's the points. So Martial having a decent goals per minute ratio, I would so much rather a striker that had a worse one that had scored 12 goals than him who's scoring a goal every 80 minutes but he's only scored 3.
Yeah.
So Ivan Toney's a great player, and I think he's one of the big reasons why Brentford are doing so well. But they're still challenging for top 4. They're not far off top 4 whatsoever. And to say that about a team like Brentford is phenomenal. I just hope that the next couple of seasons we've seen Sheffield United, Leeds, Wolves do something similar, and then before you know it, a couple of stumbles in the transfer market and the manager's on his way out and they're back down to the Championship. So no, they're a good team and one United need to respect massively.
It's a good point. You can't afford to have many stumbles when you've got a shoestring budget.
No.
You can't.
If you start getting the Ryan Bruces in for 30 million,
and
I'll see you at Middlesbrough.
Exactly. Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, this preview is brought to you by BetMate, the fantasy football app. Joseph, talk us through BetMate. Tell us a little bit about him.
BetMate, it's simple. Pick your 7 players that you think are going to do well. Pick them, put them in, make a vice captain a captain, and if they do well, you get points and you get money. And it's great as well because you're not playing against the bookie, you're playing against your mates, you're playing against the league. And normally, it's the Man United versus Brentford. But for this one, we've got a very special double pot, which means it's not just United versus Brentford. We're also looking at West Ham versus Newcastle. Okay. So you can pick players from all of those teams. Typically, you get to pick 6 players from one team, and then including the bench, you have to pick 5 players from the other team. However, because there's a 4-team thing going on, you're only allowed a maximum of 4 players from each team. Now, if you pay a 5 for entry, there's a big pot of 500 quid.
Nice.
And you can win up to £150 for that entry. And if you use our code Paddock10, whenever you get enter a paid pot, you will get £10 in free bets. So use the code Paddock10 using BetMate. Now here's my team.
Let's have a look at this then.
It pains me to say it. I haven't even gone for the maximum 4.
Wow.
Because
talk about your fair weather fan.
I watched
Newcastle
us versus Newcastle.
So you've got all Geordie on us.
I watched us versus Newcastle, Jay, and they were better than us. Also, they're facing a worse team than we are. I think that Alexander Isak was unlucky not to get a goal against United. I thought he played very, very well. Got a sort of pre-assist for their first goal. I thought he played really well, so I put him in. I've obviously gone with Rashford because he's the top scorer of anyone on that list. Bruno Fernandes, again, he plays every game. Hopefully he's due a goal. But I've gone with Burn and Trippier because, unfortunately, again, Newcastle don't concede many goals. And then Declan Rice is a decent player as well, so he's my vice-captain. But, there's my team. Well-balanced, Jay, you must say.
It is well-balanced, and I get why you've got Trippier in there because he can also pop up with a goal, can't he? So I've got my maximum number of 4 Manchester United players because, unlike you, I'm a United fan. But I have got a couple of Newcastle. Isaac, I agree with you. Thought he played well. Nick Pope, Declan Rice, who has been linked heavily with Manchester United, and then the bench is just a load of Brentford players.
A load of stripes, kits, and just,
who cares? Don't forget as well, BetMate, the stats are powered by Opta, so you get points as well for things like interceptions and tackles, and with Opta stats, it's always going to be on the money, so it's worth checking that out. Right, with everything we've discussed, give us your score prediction. Don't lie to me.
I hate it. I'm really not looking forward to this game.
Yeah.
We were so bad against Newcastle. And you're picking the same midfield again, so you just want us to lose, which is even more annoying. I can't see us not conceding. I can't see us scoring many. 2-1.
To United?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 2-1 United. I think Rashford will get back on the goals. If this is going to be a real big season for him, he needs to score. Because you can't be going 6, 7, 8 games without a goal. This will be his 4th game since he scored.
Yeah.
If he wants to be 35 goals this season, he needs to get back on it. So I'm going to put Rashford to score. I think Martial will come back with one. And who cares for them? What are you saying?
I don't know,
I know. I could have easily said a 1-0 loss, a 1-1 draw, 2-0 loss.
I remember
if we lose 3-0, I won't be stunned.
No.
We're still that fragile.
At the beginning of the season, I predicted we'd lose 3-0 at Brentford and got absolutely hammered. And I was wrong because we lost 4-0. And I do worry. I think Brentford can get goals. We can see goals. We're not scoring.
No.
I'm going to go with a draw.
Yeah.
And I hate saying that, because especially with our home form. But I just feel like we are a little bit fatigued. We've still got this hangover from the game at Anfield. And I just feel like, this might be one of those games where you can't just fax it in against Brentford. You've got to turn up. And if you don't, you'll be in all sorts of trouble. So I'm going to go with a 2-2.
Okay.
Get involved in the chat in the comments and let us know what you think. Don't forget as well, get your phone out. Film yourself in landscape for about 30 seconds, giving us your score prediction, and send it to paddockmatchday@gmail.com, and we'll use that in the sort of pre-match build-up.
Yes.
So we want to hear from you. This is your channel. Joe, always a pleasure. Where can people find you?
Yeah, JoeSmith93 on Instagram and Twitter.
You know where to find me, Jay Motti, as well. So make sure you are checking out BetMate. There's a link in the description. Check out him. You know where to find me. Don't forget as well to hit like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.